let's do this. We're going to be having FloMo versus Midlo Zoidberg. Not familiar really with either one of these players.
No.
Can you tell me if they are Shockwave regulars or anything like that?
I'm not sure if they're regulars either. I might have heard FloMo once, but they did both brand new players. Well, ready to show us what they got, and yeah, this could be their moment where we start looking, turning an eye and saying, hey, let's we'll name drop him once in a while. Like you were talking about, the killers.
Yeah. Because they're out of nowhere. They come out of nowhere.
So we have two killers facing off, starting off game one on Smashville.
Should be fun.
Opting for Mario, Zoidberg opting for Mario, and FloMo with Donkey Kong.
Huh. This is interesting. Throwing it back to the 1980s for sure with DK versus Mario.
You'd also say this goes, is very reminiscent of Ryu versus Zangief.
Yeah.
If you want to.
No, definitely. Because Mario has those zoning tools, primarily like the fireball, right? And for FloMo, what he's looking for above everything else is that grab. Because if he gets one of those grabs, he can do some really big damage. But to get the grab, he has to figure out a way around the walls. And one of those walls is going to be the flood. Another one's going to be the fireball. Another one's probably going to be some of those quick aerials, back airs, neutral airs, etc. But if he can get around, there's a lot of payoff. But right now, the payoff is entirely in favor of Zoidberg. Stock 1 being taken under a minute with under 10% of damage taken.
I think there's
interaction.
I think Donkey Kong is doing a lot of unsafe things. There's just a lot of his get-ups have been super predictable, and just overall, just getting him absolutely slaughtered by these down smashes, forward smashes.
Yeah. And he's not getting as much off of the grabs as we had initially anticipated either. That time I think he netted about maybe 10 or 13%. Up smash from Zoidberg. Almost hits the forward smash as well, was just out of place to connect with that.
Ooh, okay, there we go.
Yeah, I like it. We talked about how very committal he used to be, but using a quick option like a down tilt is a nice way to secure a grab. But Zoidberg, with his positioning, he's able to exploit the fact that Donkey Kong is such a large character and has so much trouble whenever they're trying to get back onto the stage itself.
And every one of those options, getting from the ledge, played in Zoidberg's favor. He was able to utilize Mario's tools to just absolutely clean house, as I should say.
Yeah.
Because that's what we just witnessed.
So when I'm thinking about what the Donkey Kong player needs to do, is he needs to kind of play how he did in the middle of that game, right? I like how he was playing it in a range where it was close enough to the point where some of the projectiles weren't as much of a factor, and he could barely clip with the down tilt, right? I think that was a great range to play it at. He just needs to be able to do so sooner. Looks like we're going to be seeing a switch instead, though. The PhD versus the non-degree as Dr. Mario swings into the fray of things.
Mario's still working on that undergraduate.
Yeah, it's a blue-collar Mario, you know what I mean? He doesn't need an Ivy League school necessarily. But yeah, Daka has some changes from Mario. His down air is going to be really different from Mario's. His down B is actually where the tornado is instead of the downer like it is for Mario.
Another thing too, which I don't know if this would play in this matchup that much, but pills, aside from fireballs, they're considered physical projectiles.
And that's considered an SD.
Yes.
Yeah, not in Zoidberg's favor. Zoidberg also doesn't really have the flood anymore. That's the other thing. Or sorry, FloMo doesn't have the flood anymore. He decided to go ahead and get rid of cleaning up the streets. Doesn't really need that now that he's a doctor. The combo game is considered by most, I think, to be a little bit better for Mario than it is for Doc. But Doc has a bit more knockback, if I remember correctly.
And Dr. Mario will hit you hard.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things that Dr. Mario just has struggles with, and at first impression would be like, this character doesn't impress me, but this character will put a smackdown on you if you're not careful.
Oh man, there's a smackdown via the up smash. Zoidberg finally losing his first stock in this series.
Yeah, and it's actually in a relatively close percent base. Dr. Mario can use those low percent combos. There's a lot of moves I've been noticing Zoidberg just throwing out too. It's maybe you got FloMo catching onto it, and we're getting to a point where he's starting to make those reads.
He's certainly starting to find his footing, maybe a little bit more comfortable in this game than he was in previous games because he's about to take the lead right back, despite having that very early SD. But that up B is not doing him any favors. I mean, it has some great knockback on it for sure, but you got to make sure you can hit with that thing.
It's also really early, really prematurely thrown it out, too.
Oh, I agree.
It's, ooh.
Eats through the pill with that forward air and tried to hit him with the flood, but FloMo had the presence of mind to hop right over it. Up airs contesting and kind of countering that back air attempt, but FloMo is still trying to figure out a way to go ahead and get that final hit that he needs. Back throw is going to make it so that he's 4% closer to making the lead back to fader, but the unfortunate stage spike is going to be ending his career a little bit. Getting sued for malpractice and getting shut out early. FloMo is going to be losing that set 2-0 to Zoidberg.
A little premature celebration right there. That might have worked if he tried trumping him, but he hung on the ledge, and that led to the opportunity where he could just get stage spiked at a really difficult angle to come back on.